So in our previous video, I shared with you a very simple way to swap out existing images from inside of WordPress. Let me share with you how I can do that from my browser as well. So I'm going to control click, right click, and we're going to copy the image. Copy image. Now I can't copy URL, copy the image itself. If I copy the image URL, you're going to get something like this happening, which is basically the image file inside of WordPress itself. And I'll talk about that in just a second. So I'm going to hold down the control key or right click, Windows, control key for Macintosh, and I'm going to copy the image. Now I'm going to go back into Fireworks. And once again, in Fireworks or Photoshop, it works the same way for this exercise. I'm going to make a new file, and it will make the file the same size as what I copied to my clipboard. Now again, if you just want that for sizing only and you don't want anything to do with that image, well then don't use the image. Now, the one thing you might want to pay attention to when I make a new file new, I may want to create, in this particular case, a transparent background. So therefore it will go into the background of your theme. So right now this is transparent. So it copied that transparent file, which is probably a PNG file by default. So if we're putting this back into our WordPress document, we would have to put back in a PNG file because JPEG files do not support transparency. So I'm going to save the file and I'll come right back. So let's make a simple change to this. Again, I'm going to hit the U key. I'm going to replace that with my information. A little trick here, if I hit the I key right now, I get to sample the white background. Cool, cool, cool. In fact, in this particular case, I'm going to go grab a logo. I'm going to hit the U key again. I'm going to replace that with my text. Dashboard. Spelling sometimes helps. See, this way I kill two birds with one stone. I show you how to do this, but I also get some propaganda in there. All right, so if I wanted to change that as well. But here's what I want to share with you that's really important step when working with Fireworks, and that's why I like working with Fireworks. This is Fireworks CS6. There was never a Fireworks CC because, unfortunately, they're discontinuing this. Now, what I'd like to do is also put a drop shadow on that, just because I can, and maybe fill the outline with white, so I can actually see that a little bit better. All right, now, here's a really cool part of it as far as working with Fireworks. Again, I have an entire video training series on Fireworks, which I suggest you get. I'm just going to move that to the front. Okay, make a change, save a change. Now, this is a PNG file. PNG files are web publishable, and that's the file we want to bring back into our WordPress experience because it has a transparent background. But let's say I didn't care about transparency, but I do want to have a flat file. So here's what Fireworks enables you to do. For the argument of working with layers, because I want to come in here and maybe that was the wrong logo, maybe it was the wrong placement, maybe I want to spin this around a little bit, etc., etc. Well, you can't do that if it's a JPEG file. So here's one of the cool things that Fireworks enables you to do. Even though this is a PNG file, I can export this as a JPEG file, bring that into a program like WordPress or even Dreamweaver, and if I update that, that will update the original PNG file from the JPEG file. So as an example, if I come down here, if I select the file itself, right now this is going to export as a JPEG file by default. But I don't have to export this as anything because by default it's PNG file, which is a native file format of Fireworks, is web publishable. So let's go back into WordPress and swap out our image. So now I want to use this image to swap out. So what I can now do is come down here and copy the URL. That's going to copy the URL, copy, paste. So therefore, if I come back in here to my Avada theme, I could find, paste, and hit the return key. Now notice by default I wasn't able to do that because it can't find something in the visual component. So if you're looking for the actual text or link to the actual file, you have to go switch over to text. Then I could find and paste. So therefore I can go right to where my file is kept. Now I did mention an alternative way that I can do this. So here's the file that we want to swap out. Here's the file we want to swap out. So I'm going to take this content right here. That's the file. I'm just going to select that. I'm going to go back to my media library and I'm going to add other information to my media library. So I'm going to add new. navigate my way to where the file is kept. And there's the file right there, computer screen, and I open that up. Now again, this is just an alternative technique that what I shared with you in the last video. I can now take that URL, I can copy that, therefore when I come back into my WordPress, I can just replace that URL with this URL. This is the link to the actual image itself. And again, we got that by copying it. Originally, we found that the text that we need to replace, and now we're simply going to replace it. So I'm going to take this file and paste. So if I go back to my visual, you'll now see that that file has been replaced with the file that we just put in here. And if I scroll down here, you'll see the experience. So I'm going to scroll down, and there's the file. Now, if in fact it wasn't the right size, once again, I can click here and make sure it is the right size to begin with from the file that we put in there. But this is coming in at the right size. I don't want it to link any place, and I'm good to go. Now, keep in mind that that was a little different because we didn't actually replace the image. Again, if I click this and I go to Add Media, and I'm going to select the same file just to share with you the difference. So I'm going to select this file again, and that's going to actually give you the options for changing the file from original WordPress design. What I mean by that is when I went back into that a second ago, there was not the option for changing and replacing. So now I can go back here and go back to the original full size. I don't want this to link to any media, and I simply hit update. Okay, by replacing the actual URL, you're going to get the same experience you got originally when you install the demo theme inside of Avada. I just want to be crystal clear about that, the difference. So those are two techniques for swapping the image and how we got it done. If you're not sure about that, just rewind the videotape. Just hit the back, just scroll back through, and you'll see how simple this was to do. So once again, this is a simple premise for taking existing demo theme and swapping it out with your content. So if you like the design of how this was set up, you could simply go in there and change things very easily, change the text, change everything else in here, simply using your own content. So let's do this just one more time to make sure you get this in the next video.